My Adventures with Superman, a brand new show from the good people at DC and WB Discovery. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, just want to welcome you to the first episode of the Ryan Retro Show. I'm Ryan, and I'm so excited to have you here. I am just a huge dork, and I love to talk about all things movies, comic books, video games, and what have you. And I'm just so thankful to have you here on episode 1. Today I'm going to talk about my show, my new favorite show rather, My Adventures with Superman. This is airing on TNT at midnight on Thursdays, I believe, and then also on Max, which is how I personally watch it, because who likes commercials, right? Be sure to let me know what your favorite shows are and what you think of My Adventures with Superman. Leave a comment below and check me out on Twitter. All the links are below in the link. Let's talk about Superman. It is a breath of fresh air having a brand new weekly episodic show from the great animation studios of DC and Warner Brothers, outlining the big blue Boy Scout himself, Supes, Superman, the Man of Steel, whatever you want to call him. As a kid, I was such a Superman mark, if you will. I loved Superman. I had the Superman PJs, I had the Superman stuffed plushie, Superman sheets, Superman action figures. I believe I was actually tricked by my parents that if this is during potty training, that if I completed my potty training journey, that Superman would show up and take me on a flight or whatever. And to be honest, I am still waiting on that visit from the big blue Boy Scout himself. But My Adventures with Superman, it did start about 4 weeks ago, and it has been just a wonderful experience watching it. The animation style itself reminds me a lot of Invincible from Amazon, and it's got a little bit of that anime charm. So I would say it's almost like a hybrid of Invincible meets DC meets Dragon Ball Z. And maybe some people may take some umbrage with that, but that's really how I saw it. The nice thing about this show is that it really starts with Clark as a child, not knowing that he has powers. Actually, the very first scene of episode 1 is Clark trying to get his kite out of a tree. He's trying to jump, and obviously he can't reach it. In this next scene, a speeding car with a mother and a baby comes out of the corner, and Clark stops it with his bare hands. Can't believe it, right? So then he realizes, wow, there's something about me, and I'm gonna try to get the kite, and he ends up flying, and that's how we start our journey with My Adventures of Superman. Now, with this show, we're following Clark along his journey as discovering himself as Superman, and that's what I really like. We didn't have to go through with the whole origin story with him coming from Krypton and showing the spacecraft landing in Kansas and being discovered by the Kents. We do get like those reminiscing memories, but we don't have to go through a whole brand new origin story, which I know is something that a lot of people, we don't need to see it. I mean, how many times have we seen Batman's parents killed in a crime alley? How many times have we seen Peter Parker get bitten by the spider? Let's go ahead and talk about this banger of a voice cast. We have Jack Quaid from The Boys voicing Clark Kent / Superman. We have Alice Lee from Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist voicing Lois Lane. We have Ishmael Saeed voicing Jimmy Olsen, aka my favorite character in the show so far. Darrell Brown voicing Perry White. We even have Chris Parnell voicing Deathstroke, aka Slade Wilson. We also have Jason Momoa as the voice of Jor-El, which was just, I didn't even know that was him until I actually checked on IMDb. And the thing I love the most about this show is that it's not your typical Superman / Clark Kent, mild mannered reporter at the Daily Planet show. It's not your typical superhero show. In fact, really, it's following Clark Kent in Metropolis, just trying to make his way through the city, being quote unquote normal And he's actually on his first day at the Daily Planet in episode 1. He's going to be an intern. Not only is he going to be an intern, but his roommate, Jimmy Olsen, is going to be an intern with him as well. I mentioned earlier that Jimmy Olsen is probably like my favorite character in the show. And just because he's so wacky, he's not like the typical, like, hey, Superman, I'm your best friend. He's just like, he's his own man. He is a alien conspiracy theorist, which is just hilarious because of who his roommate is. And he also tries to stir stuff up here and there. Not only that, but he also gives Clark a little bit of a bump in confidence when he needs it. This iteration of Lois Lane is as sassy and as spunky as ever. She's also an intern at the Daily Planet, but she's kind of like the veteran intern, if that's even a thing. Her task in episode 1 is actually to teach Clark and Jimmy to, quote unquote, make copies and make coffee. That's what Perry White said she was supposed to do, and that's what she has been tasked to do. Now, knowing Lois Lane, you think she's actually going to do that? Heck no. She is the instigator. She's the one going against everything Perry White is telling her to do. She's trying to get that story, trying to be that ace reporter, and not trying to be an intern forever, which I absolutely respect. I love this iteration of Lois. She also has a little bit of a thing for Clark, which Jimmy has noticed, and you can tell he's trying to play a little bit of matchmaker. Now let's talk about the man himself, Superman, aka Clark Kent, aka Kal-El. I love this version of Superman. I love that he's unsure of himself. Now, like I mentioned before, he's not even Superman yet. He's really trying to find his way. He knows he has powers. He hasn't discovered all of his powers yet. Like, he knows he's super strong. He knows he could fly. I think when episode 1 kicks in, that's pretty much it. He really just wants to be normal, to the point where he is trying to just get ready for the day. He's breaking the faucet on the sink. He's ripping his shoes in half. He's destroying his alarm clock. And the thing I like about him is that he just really wants to know who he is. And that's really the underlining theme of the show. And he always says, "Who am I?" And I really think that a lot of people can relate to that. A lot of people are trying to find their way in the world, and people in general go through changes, and they really try to discover who they are. And that's why I love this iteration of Superman. In the first episode, like, he's not called Superman. It's actually Lois Lane who gives him the moniker of Superman. Doesn't even have his suit yet. And then it forces him to go back to Kansas, to go back to his original spaceship, to try to learn things and learn who he is, learn where he came from. And it's just beautiful. And like I mentioned before, with the animation, it's just really nice to see these designs take form on my television, and to see that the animators have taken liberty with the Superman mythos, and of course with the animation style, going back to what I thought was more like an Invincible style or a Dragon Ball Z. The action is just out of this world. So if I had to give My Adventures with Superman a rating, I would give it a solid 8 out of 10. I know we're only a few episodes in, but I'm loving what I'm seeing, and I'm loving the story, and I'm loving just this new take on such a classic character. My Adventures with Superman allows us to escape to a world where the only thing that matters is truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. And that's my review of My Adventures with Superman. Like I said, I love this show. It's just so much fun. It's different. It kind of takes you to a different world. And I think that sometimes that's what we need in life, is just to be able to escape. Life is hard just as it is, and to have something as simple as a television show just to get away for 20-30 minutes, it's definitely worth it. That being said, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me on this first episode. If you can't tell, I am pretty nervous. This is my first show, my first episode. I'm pretty new at this, and I'm gonna get better, because that's all I can do. But thank you guys so much for joining again. Be sure to like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. If you want to check me out on Twitter, I'm at The Ryan Retro. On TikTok, I am The Ryan Retro Show. And again, all the links will be in the description at the bottom. Thank you guys so much. I love you, and I will see you on the next one.